Welcome to Fourth Dram and Goal. We've got a national championship special. Devontae Smith is a manimal, and we're about to be that on the mic. Let's go.
Let's do this.
Welcome to Fourth Dram and Goal. I'm your host, Kurt, and I've got my co-host, Dick, here.
What's up, Drammers? This is Dick.
What's up, Dick? We are here to hang out with every guy, every girl who is drinking whiskey right now in their sports cave, watching a game. We want to do this because we're here to blend our two passions into an entertaining show, hang out with you, drink some whiskey, and if you want to sit here and bitch with us or at us, bring it on. We've got a lot of things on the lineup tonight. We're going to talk some NFL headlines. We're going to talk some NFL playoffs. We've got the college football final, like I just said, on tonight, and we are drinking some good stuff. Dick, lay the socials on them.
All right, so Kurt, appreciate you handing it off to me. So Drammers, a couple things I want to hit you with. Points of order, administrative bullshit. First and foremost, we got our website, Fourth Dram and Goal. That's 4th Dram and A&D Goal.com. You can join us there. We've got our Instagram. We've got links to our podcast. We've got everything really there in one centralized spot. And you can find our Instagram and Twitter handles at Fourth Dram. That's 4THDRAM. And then Facebook as well, Fourth Dram and Goal, if you're kicking it old school like we do. A couple other things to handle with you today. We want to remind you that you can always listen to us on your favorite streaming services as well as our website. We're now on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audible, CastBox, Spotify, Overcast, and every other podcast streaming app you can find. Big thing there, please make sure to rate and review us. Tell us what you're thinking. Give us some feedback. Tell your friends about it. We can't grow the show without you, and we need your feedback and your support to do so. So if you don't want to give us some direct feedback by emailing us at fourthdramandgoal@gmail.com, you can always rate and review us on your favorite app, and we'll get the feedback there. All right, Kurt, I think I hit him with all the socials and the administrative bullshit. I'm going to kick it to you, man. We always do. What's in your glass as we're drinking these things? What you got tonight?
Thanks a lot, Dick. Yes, as we start with our favorite What's in Our Glass segment, I picked a go-to. I've got some Early Times bottled in bond. I had a buddy come over, and as we've talked before, you know, if you're not hanging out with that whiskey guru and you're hanging out with that newbie, this is one of those that I like to bring out at the beginning. Buffalo Trace or Early Times to let them get started and see how they like it. And as I also said, I'm going to kind of do a rotation as we go on through the first couple of months. I want to get through a Texas Trail, which had a great start last week with Still Austin. And I want to hit them with those go-tos that new whiskey lovers, hell, with this one, veteran whiskey lovers can go and grab and they'll easily relate to us. So I've got Early Times bottled in bond, like I said. It is a Brown-Forman. It is a Brown-Forman bottle, bottled in bond, 100 proof. Not to get all technical on you, bottled in bond. Of course, we've got to be exactly 100 proof. We've got to at least be 4 years old. This bad boy has 79% corn, 11% rye, and 10% malted barley. The badass thing about Early Times is they bottled in bond is they only have the 1 liter right now. They don't have the 750. And this is $23.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
Yes. And as we go on, I'm going to tell you why this $23 is just freaking awesome. And then Muhammad Ali, baby, we're coming from Louisville, Kentucky with this bad boy.
All right.
What about you, Dick? What do you have in your glass tonight?
Well, first of all, I got to make the comment. We talked about Early Times bottled in bond, and I know you've drank it a few times, probably more than a few. That is actually now on my list to pick up. Unfortunately, the last couple of times I've been to my local Specs or even Twin Liquors, it has not been there. So you kind of called it early in our, well, you kind of called it at the end of last year. We talked about what things are going to be your next allocated or hard to find bottles. And for those who don't remember, allocated is something that your store has to be specifically provided by a distributor, and really hard to find is you just can't find it that often. I think I'm actually having a hard time finding that one right now. So that's on my list, man. You may have to send me a sample.
And that I will do. I've got a couple. You've seen the Instagram lately. You've seen Dick's wonderful layout of the sample bottles that we will be tasting together, giving you some reviews, kind of getting on track where we have the same bottle. Makes it a little bit more fun. When we have a different one, of course, we're able to hit a variety, but there are the benefits of both. Yeah, like I said, I've seen a trend this last year when I started following the social media big time. If it's harder to get up north, it's going to work its way down south, become more popular. Eagle Rare. I haven't seen a bottle of Eagle Rare on the shelves in a while. It is there. It's probably, at least a 2-3 liquor store stop before you find one. It's there, but I got a feeling early times is going to be that bottle next.
And yeah, we'll get into the whole whiskey hunting conversation at some point. I think no matter what happens, we get into that rabbit trail about secondary versus hunting it for yourself. We hate doing it. It's almost one of the things that you hate to love to do.
That's good stuff. But once again, Dick, to answer the question, what is in your glass?
Man, I'm sorry, dude. I totally dicked it up on that one. So what I'm drinking, I took a little inspiration from you, man. I did it. I went and got that Still Austin. It took me 2 stops to get it. Believe it or not, Specs did not have it on the shelf. And I am at a big Specs. I went over to Twin Liquors. They had 2 bottles sitting there. I almost grabbed both, but I was like, I don't know. Retrospect, I totally would have grabbed both. I'm not going to give it all away right now. I'm not going to, take the tops and the bottoms off right now. I'm just going to give it a little peek. This is legit. I think that our next whiskey review on our Instagram is going to have to be this guy. I'm drinking that Still Austin. This is 3rd batch. And Kurt covered this last time, but for our first-time listeners, it's 98.4 proof. It's a 70% GMO, which it's 70% GMO white corn, 25% malted rye, and 5% malted barley. So it's kind of a very corny whiskey, but as compared to some of the other Texas whiskeys we've had, it's not nearly as funky. So
yeah, well, definitely.
And you can, just to cover it one more time, you can pick this up for about $45. It is aged 2 years, so it's a young whiskey. But when we talk color, man, just looking at this guy, and I know it's not something we typically talk about. I mean, this is a 6-7 out of 10 darkness. I mean, this is a nice molasses amber color. Not something you typically get out of a 2-year-old whiskey.
I might have to have a glass with you by the end of the show. It's halftime right now. We've got a long show. I might have to enjoy a glass of Still Austin with you because that bottle's barely hanging on, but when a better time to finish it, you know what I mean?
For sure. And without further ado, that was our first dram. So as we do it here at Fourth Dram and Gold, we get through all four drams every show, come hell or high water. We're going to get Schwasey on a Monday night. Let's go ahead and move into our second dram. And this is where I think we're going to talk about NFL headlines, or really just sports headlines in general. So, Kurt, I know you got it in front of you, man. What do you want to talk about first?
I've got the NFL headlines in front of me. Since this is kind of a live special, live for us.
It's always live for us.
It's halftime. Ohio State 17, Alabama 35. It looked like a heck of a game there for about a quarter and 2 minutes. It was 17-21. Some of the experts were saying Ohio State was going to bring something special tonight. It looked like they were going to be that right, but since then, Bama has turned into Bama.
Wait, are you saying that Bama's Bama like the Browns are the Browns?
Oh, funny you say that.
We'll get to that.
Why not right now? If you want to bring it up, that's a headline.
That's our third dram, man. That's our third dram.
Okay, we'll wait.
All right.
I do want to do something real quick.
Sure.
So you know how on PTI they do the whole, where did we mess up? I love that segment.
I love to hate that show, and I hate that I love that show. Yes.
I haven't watched it in a while.
Oh.
So, of course...
They're honestly not too different from us.
Okay, yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. PTI, I mean, they're a lot better than us, but...
yeah.
Add some whiskey, and that's us.
That's cutting it lightly. But they do that segment, and I was listening because, as every great player does, they critique themselves, they watch the film. So I listened to us. There was a couple things that we got to correct from last week.
Sure.
The first was...
Chip Kelly.
It'll be a sports and a whiskey. Yes. As I was in a badass rant, mostly right as usual, Dick threw me off course a little bit when we were talking
so it's my fault you get fucked up. Okay.
We were talking about Brian Kelly, and Dickhead over here goes, he hasn't been good since Oregon. Thinking of Chip Kelly. Well, in the middle of my rant, in my head, I'm thinking like Brian Kelly at Cincinnati. That's what he was referring to, so I just kept it rolling. But we obviously, being the sports experts that we are, we know the difference between Brian Kelly and Chad Kelly. So
Chip Kelly. You just said Chad Kelly.
Yeah, exactly. That was going to be the correction next week, but yeah, you're right. Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, Oregon. Brian Kelly, Cincinnati.
But if you put them in a lineup, they kind of look alike, so.
Okay. So the second thing, I did a little bit more research, and okay, let's face it, that sit down with the grandson of the great Wild Turkey founder was years ago, and I swear I thought I had remembered something about a rye whiskey only needing to be a certain percentage to be a rye whiskey. So to correct myself from reading, technically you have to have 51% rye to be a rye whiskey. Now there's different high rye, low rye, things like that, but we learn, we correct, we continue. So those are the two little, where did we mess up, that just wanted to throw that in, and for why the hell not, since we do got a long second half ahead of us. We're going to talk.
One of the fine points of a great leader is to admit when you're wrong, and we can do that.
Yep, you're right, Dick. You were wrong. So here we go with NFL headlines. I want to talk about the Houston Texans to start. So yeah, we're going to talk about that first because I've had a lot.
You didn't want to talk about the Houston Texans when I texted you. You're like, no, this ain't happening. No,
I wanted to ignore it until it disappeared.
Like the coronavirus?
Right, exactly. That was my metaphor. If I ignore it, by the time I know it, Deshaun Watson will be in the pads practicing.
Put some chlorine in his blood and he'll be fine.
Exactly. I guess. So, yes, the rumors have picked up. There was a big Deshaun Watson to Miami Dolphins for Tua.
That's kind of a win-win.
No, it's not.
It is.
Shut your face.
It is unless you're a Houston fan.
Shut your face. Exactly. And there's going to be a lot of that unless you're a Houston Texans fan. Because if you're not, just
Tua has a lot of promise.
Deshaun Watson is the promised land. There's no has promise.
I'm going to argue on this just a little bit, but I want to let you finish your thought.
Oh, then you're going to have to wait.
Okay.
Okay. So first off, Deshaun Watson's on the beaches of Tahiti or something right now. So I'm like, he's not even... what the hell? All this is going on. Is Deshaun even paying attention? Apparently he is. Apparently things have surfaced. And just to lay it out, I can't blame the guy. I mean, holy crap. With the Bill O'Brien fumble, with the DeAndre Hopkins massacre, which you're sitting there like, maybe they have a plan. Nope. Bill O'Brien's fired. They hire this big search committee, lots of money, completely ignore the list of finalists. Apparently Deshaun they opened communication with Deshaun, which is where the problem begins. If you're going to open communication, you've got to keep communication. And then when you hear the rumors that the guy doesn't find out any other way than social media that he has a new GM, yeah, I'd be a little ticked off myself. And the thing that something's going to have to come out, I'm going to have to hear that Eric Bieniemy just sucks at interviewing, which is out there a little bit. But for the Texans to be sitting on a high horse right now as the only open team that has not interviewed him, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason. And if I'm Deshaun, yes, I am pissed off. Somebody today, well, who does Deshaun think he is? Tom Brady has 6 rings, and he's the kind of guy that would probably be... Shut up. You're not a Texans fan. Shut up. We don't have Tom Brady. We want to have a Tom Brady. So this is what we're starting with. We have Deshaun Watson. We have J.J. Watt. Poor J.J. Watt, who's sitting in the background. Maybe he's on an island right now enjoying life. We've got to do what we've got to do to keep Deshaun Watson. Because you can't... There's the whole, what are you going to do? Sell the franchise at him? Sure, why not? We don't have one right now. I mean, involve the guy. Keep the communication open. What the heck are they doing? What are they thinking over there right now? It's just so frustrating as a Texan fan. And like I said, if you're trying to chime in and you're not a Texan fan,
fuck you.
Exactly. And if you are one of those Texans fans that are like, oh, maybe if we just tell him to shut up enough, like, then he'll just have to play for us. Well, it doesn't work that way because, as you've seen lately, trade demands happen now.
And he's a hot commodity. He's a hot commodity. I was going to take this at a different angle with you, right?
Go for it.
But the more you talk, this is kind of weird for me to say. No, it completely makes sense. And I think I'm looking from like Desean's standpoint. Like, I don't blame him. On the flip side of that, for some odd reason, like when we talk, and like the Texans have been around for a long time, may just be the still Austin talking. I just feel this need to become a Texans fan, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the
Did
never
we just become best friends.
I think maybe it's the never ending suffering, the horrible administrative decisions that are made, much like A&M has been. And you know, there's this glimmer of a light at the end of the tunnel. You're always good enough to be considered, but never good enough to win or get into the playoffs. I don't know, but I will say this: if we take it from Desean's standpoint. He's sitting on a beach in Tahiti. Well, the rest of the year, he could be sitting on a beach in Miami. It's not a bad trade for him. We talk about wanting the best for the players we love. We've talked about wanting better for J.J. Watt. Hear me out. Let me finish. I'll be done soon. You want the best for the players you love. I really do like Deshaun Watson. I think if he went to Miami, he'd be put in a really good position to actually contend, especially in that shit show of a conference right now, contend for a title. Flip side of that, Deshaun Watson now 26, 27 years old, right?
Maybe 24.
Okay. I thought he left as a junior. I thought he'd been there 4 years. I may be wrong. Kurt's going to look it up while I ramble.
Yes,
when you're talking about now, aside from J.J. Watt,
I got my Stephen A. Smith face on, by the way, as we wait for
the Texans are in a entire... Okay, 25 years old. The Texans are now in an entire rebuild mode. Assuming that Watson leaves, entire rebuild mode. It may be better to start an entire rebuild mode with someone who doesn't hold resentment toward the organization and someone that is younger, frankly.
Ready?
I'm that's all I have to say. Rebuttal.
Quick hitter. AFC East shit show. I don't think the Buffalo Bills are going anywhere for a while. Second off, you talk about what's best for the player. You literally have a player who all he wants right now is what's best for the organization that he fucking loves so much.
Agreed. And if they don't do that though, he's gonna have resentment.
Right. No shit. It's like these are little things. It literally came out. Adam Schefter. I'm gonna say Adam Schefter is a pretty reliable guy. Literally said he didn't expect them to necessarily pick who he wanted, but to have communication. And that goes back. If you're gonna open communication with him, keep communication with him, and don't let him find out like the rest of like all us nobodies.
I couldn't agree with you more. Oh shit! I think no, he was down.
Doesn't matter. He's done enough. He's the MVP already. We're talking about Devontae Smith. As the second half has just started,
Did he fumble that ball?
Cruising, and Devontae Smith is actually being helped to the sideline.
He never caught it.
They're holding his arm.
Because he put his knee in his fucking arm.
Doesn't look good, but if...
No, it doesn't look horrible.
I hope he
comes back. It's his hand.
And if that was the end of his night, holy crap, he did enough. But, I mean, just... You're doing things that even the New York Jets are sitting back going, what the fuck are they doing in Houston? This time last year, we're getting ready to play the Chiefs in the second round.
Oh, I know.
We have a lead.
He might have broken his thumb.
We'll keep an eye on that and keep you posted, as you will already know by the time this comes out, but that's okay.
So we can wrap it up. Houston's a shit show. Kurt is upset about it. I'm actually starting to feel a little upset about, like, you hurt my friend, I want to hurt you kind of thing. Like,
it's not hard things to do.
It's not. But at the same time, like, we'll talk about the Cowboys here in a second. I'm so done being a Cowboys fan at this point in time that I almost want to be a Houston fan. Like,
I mean, you're leaving, what, shit for poo poo. I mean,
yeah,
right now.
but there's shit for poo poo. But like, you don't have Jerry Jones running that shit show at least.
Well, Cal McNair's not. He's kind of doing a hold my beer thing. Like,
yeah, but he's not gonna. I don't know. I feel like Jerry Jones has such a ball hold on the rest of the league that he's never going to go anywhere. And Stephen Jones' son is never going to be any better. You won't see. I'm going to call it right now. You will not see the Cowboys win a Super Bowl before my oldest daughter graduates high school.
I mean,
that's 8 years.
I knew that, but I'm just saying that's not. I mean, it's not a bad thing.
You won't see them get a Super Bowl before my son, who's 5 years old, graduates high school.
Well, you're used to waiting that long anyway as a Cowboy fan. Anyway, and as we're speaking, rumors have started to come out within the last couple of hours that Jim Caldwell is apparently a front runner and starting to build up steam. I don't even know who Jim Caldwell is. Jim Caldwell, he was the head coach for the Colts and then the Lions. And then it was like he should possibly stay the Lions coach. Before they hired the dude who just got fired. Yeah. And they said they should. At this point, I don't care. If you're not going to interview Bellamy, if you're not going to, if it's going to make Desean happy, I'll sure, bring on Jim Caldwell. If that's a dude that he's okay with, sure, why not? And then you got the whole, we just fired a Patriots GM and we brought in a Patriots GM. I'm not going to say anything against the guy. I hope he does great. But then you start thinking about the Patriots' lack of talent the last couple of years. Anyway. Well, what they're banking on is the fact that, the Patriots won a lot of Super Bowls. They had a dynasty. Then you can build that here. Just because you're part of an organization doesn't mean you can build that same organization. You're going to repeat it. Some people are just lucky. It says, every Patriots coach that has failed holding on to Brian Flores, hoping he does, in all places, go figure Miami, holding our breath on that, looks promising, but I mean... No, I'm with you 100% there. But let's get on to the next one. I'm going to get you off this fucking hot topic. You're like a little red hot over there. All right, so Eagles, I mean, they fired Peterson, thank God, after that shit show of a playoff. I don't even know what you call that, like a... try to keep one of your foes to let another foe into the playoff situation. I mean, it was a shit show. We recorded and we watched that Washington game. He pulled Hurts in the second quarter for no apparent reason, said fuck you to Wentz, who he won a Super Bowl with, and then put in a third string. He was like, you know what? I'm going to get you some playing time because this is a throwaway bowl game for me. Like, I'm glad they fired him. I know a lot of people are like, he won us a Super Bowl. Cool. But some coaches make bad decisions and some coaches do not make a series of decisions that cannot be rectified either with ownership or leadership or their players. Because I feel like those players felt wronged. Like, we talk about the players being competitors and they want to put their best people on the field all the time. Unless we're sitting in the first seed and we don't have to worry about Patrick Mahomes getting hurt. But if we're just like, we don't want to be competitive tonight, I just don't feel like that sits well. Yeah, so he dropped the ball big time, obviously. He dropped multiple balls. He dropped but that was, I think he doesn't do that. He's still there. Or at least put Wentz in. Right. That goes back to, because as that was happening, we were watching it and we were recording our last episode. That goes, you hear afterwards, well, of course they didn't play Wentz because he's trying to get another contract somewhere else, play somewhere else. So what would be the point of it? He's not going to do it. He's not going to give a shit. He doesn't want to get hurt. But let Wentz make that decision. What if he did? Then why didn't Peterson say that? Well, Peterson doesn't have a job right now, so maybe Peterson has a Twitter account. Peterson gets interviewed afterwards. Well, that could be taken from him. This goes back to just how cutthroat the NFL is, and the coaches. What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? Exactly. Like, there's no. So there's no love lost. No, and you hear a couple of these people when they talk about bringing in a coach. Bring in a coach who's there for the long run, who's going to put. They don't have that luxury. Everybody thinks you're going to hire the next Mike Tomlin. Yeah, and even Mike Tomlin. You're not. How many, He's been on the hot seat, twice I can think of in the last, 6-7 years. Yeah, says Alabama takes it to the 5-yard line, getting ready to punch it in again. It's cutthroat. There's no more building there's no building for these head coaches. Like, dude has a Super Bowl, top of the mountain, 3 seasons later, done. Has the absolute collapse of the Eagles been historic? Like, usually, the team that wins the Super Bowl, they're usually, in the playoffs the next year. They're competitive for a while. They manage it fairly well enough to stay competitive. They messed that up. But Anthony Lynn, I said it in the last podcast, I didn't think he's coming off 2 seasons ago, a 12-4 record, out of a job. There's no building. There's no, if you're like, oh, let's bring.
He's out of a head coaching job.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you're that guy, like, oh, bring in a guy who's going to be here for 5 years for the long one, for the rebuild, not happening. You need the dude who's going to make changes and make them quick.
It's funny to me because you had the Jason Garrett situation where he was given a long leash, and then he was giving time to reel that team back in. And he sat there for 7 or 8 seasons as a Dallas head coach and never produced anything significant.
Well, I think the big reason for that is because of the records. It was 8-8. It was in that gray area. You know what I mean? It wasn't the 3-win season. It wasn't the top draft pick. I would have to look back and see why they were able to take Zeke that high up in the draft.
Jerry Jones is known for being very, very impatient.
Right. And that was brought up quite a bit. Like, why is he holding on to him? But I think it just goes back to, it's like the same thing as I've said about quarterbacks. It's hard to find a good head coach with consistency.
Yeah. Well, you need a good quarterback head coach tandem.
Right. That's what they were saying. That's it. That's the problem solved. So make fucking Deshaun Watson happy. Okay.
Yeah. Agreed. But
there's no leeway. Okay, so to answer the question and wrap that up, am I surprised Peterson's fired? No, absolutely not.
He needed to be. We both agree. All right,
yes.
So Cowboys, as of tonight, when we're recording this, there are credible reports that Dan Quinn is being hired as the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. You don't care. I find it interesting. What I find more interesting, the fact that he let McCarthy off with a warning, basically a slap on the wrist. But if they have a shit season next year, especially with Dak back, they're fucked. Like, he's fucked.
Well, that's the classic save your ass. Keep me and I'll get rid. Like, he's firing people left and right. Keep me, I'll clean house, and we'll do this all over again. I mean, that's a classic go-to move. Completely
agree. But at the same time, like, I talk about, like, what is good leadership? Good leadership is taking the sword and falling on it when your team fucks up. And McCarthy is not a good leader specifically because of the situation. I rest my case.
Done with the Cowboys?
I think I might be a Texans fan now, yeah. All right,
good.
So let's get into...
If you're wondering, like, why the fuck don't these guys ever talk about our teams? We will. We're getting to the teams that matter. We're getting to the
Send us an email.
Second.
Send us an email. Ask to come on the show. We'll bring you on the show if you're willing to talk shit and drink with us, and we'll have a roundabout discussion. Trust me, both Kurt and I have Red Zone. We watch a lot of games, and hell, I might even get whatever the hockey version or the Major League Baseball version of Red Zone is. Is it Major League Pass?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know the NBA is the full court.
I might get full court this year. Might as well.
Let's get some happier times. Let's talk about the nose on these wonderful drams we have right in front of us.
Man, I tell you what, like, I could kill this bottle of Still Austin tonight. And I was really, really hesitant because I had this at the distillery prior, like a year and a half ago. And I had their old bottle. I think it was like batch 2. I had an old fashioned. It was good, but there's always something that's kind of like, you have to grow into the whole Texas whiskey scene. Truly, I really appreciate, like, your palate changes. Bourbon's very sweet out there. Texas has this punchy Texas funk, as we talk about, which I think Kurt and I are both growing to love and really need to appreciate. This Still Austin, like, straight bourbon whiskey, like, this is everything that's right between both bourbon, traditional Kentucky bourbon, and Texas whiskey. I feel like this is damn near the perfect blend. I mean, I got into this thing and I got brown sugar, kind of like a toasted brown sugar, vanilla, I got red fruit, berries. I got a little toffee in there, and then a little hint of like brown forma and banana in there. I was like, is this sourced? But it's not. It's fully distilled at their place. Overall, man, I gave this an A- on the nose. I thought this was like a home run hitter.
I like it. No, and you said it perfect. I like that. The blend between the Kentucky and Texas taste. I agree with you there. I agree with you. That's kind of some of the things I touched on last week.
This may have to be something that stays in my bar in the regs.
It's good. And here's the awesome thing. It's down the street from both of us.
I know. Like we are going so when COVID frees up and we both have our vaccines, we're going to go hit Austin, the Texas Triangle or the Texas Distillery Tour pretty hard. Garrison Brothers, Still Austin, a few others. We're going to go hit it hard, man.
Yep, I agree.
And we're going to make it a business trip so we can write it off on our taxes.
Absolutely. Hell, let's just do a podcast from the distillery.
We should.
We're going to invite ourselves up in that bitch. So give us a table.
There's a pretty good little brewery around the corner, too.
Nice. Early times, bottle and bond, nose. So on the label in the corner, it says old style whiskey, early times, Louisville, Kentucky. That's it. That's classic. It's right there. This is a vanilla bomb to me on the nose. Vanilla bomb. Little chocolate. Fruits. Like a big whiff. I got, how you say it, maraschino cherry. I mean, it's good stuff. Now, it's $23. You do get that little proofy, I'm going to say this is proof, because there's a difference between that high ethanol and the high proof smell. It does have that high proof nose a little bit, but not too much to where it takes away from the other smells and the other noses on this glass. Oh, there you go. Got some orange on there. A little bit of mint. Oh, it's good. It's good. And I'm going to keep going back. $23. $23 for a liter of cola.
I almost said that. I almost did it.
Big mint on that nose. Early times is going to get an A for me. A on the nose.
Huge. That's amazing. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna nerd out just for a hot minute because you brought up early times, man. I was listening to a little podcast. Give a shout out to these guys. They're called Whiskey Tangent. You can find them on Google Podcasts. That's where I listen to them on. They've got 87 episodes. The most recent one, they were talking about whiskeymentary. So they're actually a little bit more nerdy than we are, and they got into like the history of sourcing and like transformation, and they talked about the original destination of, the original origin of whiskey with the United States. Now these Scots-Irish came in and they talked about the original distilleries. You had the Brown family that was provided a permit to produce, and they Old Overholt was one of them. Early Times was one of the original labels that distillers, like these original farmers, used to take their whiskey that they were creating, that they would trade with other farmers for goods and services. And after Alexander Hamilton pushed forward the Taxation Act on whiskey specifically, which led to a small war, not going to get into that. Not trying to steal their content, but it was really interesting. They talked about.
Clarify that you're not just a regurgitator.
I'm not. I'm a listener and a educator.
Who did you get this from?
I did. I said the Whiskey Tangent, and full credit. And they talked about how Early Times was one of the original 10 or 12 bottles that were put out there, and they labeled it, and that was a brand. And this is one of those rebranded, resurrected brands. So I thought it was pretty cool.
That is cool. You totally dick that up, but that's next level shit right there. I like it. That's good.
Dude, I like to nerd out. I like to bring that angle. Also found out that TGI Fridays actually got a class action lawsuit for taking high level whiskey and spirits and refilling the bottles with bottom shelf shit and trying to sell that to you as a consumer. That was 10 years ago.
There we go. That's more my level. TGIF shady shit. As Justin Fields just throws a 20-yard touchdown pass.
That was nice.
They get another touchdown. It's a ball game again.
I'm okay with a ball game.
Hell yeah. It's 38, extra point waiting. Could be 38-24. We'll see. The only thing I can add on history is somebody had posted a picture on I think it was one of the original Ocean's 11s. I could be wrong.
Well, there's only one Ocean 11. There's Ocean 12 and 13.
Well, but the original was Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if it was that movie. Maybe it was another old movie. There's a nice looking early times bottle in the background. It looks similar to this vintage look that they're going with for this bottled and bond. That's all I got for history nerds out there.
I do like that label. It's not something you see every day.
Well, we've said before, not the regular early times, you've probably walked by 100 times. It looks like a Jim Beam logo, kind of. Haven't had that. Third dram, my friend?
Third dram. All right, so we're going to get into our third dram. That was nice. All right. We're starting to push our thoughts and everything to the end of the dram, so we're going to start our third dram here. I do want to kick it over to you, Kurt, first. So this is our NFL playoff segment, and I want to talk about the upsets. I don't want to talk about the elephant in the room first. Any thoughts on the Rams over the Seahawks or the Ravens over the Titans? Because those were technically upsets.
We both picked the Rams. I'm sorry. We both picked the Seahawks.
Yeah, I wanted to pick the Rams, but Jared Goff was playing like shit. And they didn't start him in the game.
That was a weird situation, too. The quarterback gets injured. He walks off to the side, and then you see a picture on the internet of him on a stretcher, on a neck brace, getting taken away. Good to hear that he's up, walking around. Everything was fine. The Seahawks were inconsistent enough to where that wasn't surprising at all.
I always feel like the Seahawks have so much talent, but they're so beatable. So beatable.
Going back to our discussion on teams that have won the Super Bowl and they're able to stay consistent, so what the fuck did the Eagles do? But, yeah. I think
they were a flash in the pan. That was a right time, right place.
It was, poor defense all year that kind of hurt the Seahawks?
The Seahawks, once that... What do they call their secondary? The Boom crew?
Legion of Doom.
Their Legion of Doom.
Legion of Boom. Doom,
there you go. Once they left, that's when it changed for them. They've had good players, but Russell Wilson has carried that team on his back. And I'm sorry, DK Metcalf is like Megatron 2.0, and he's a beast. And he has
Ramsey shut him down.
Not the whole game. I mean, DK Metcalf still had a hell of a game.
0 catches on Jalen Ramsey.
Well, but all right, fair enough.
Speaking of that era of Seahawks, I didn't even know Malcolm Smith was still in the league. He just won a playoff game last night for the Browns. But anyway, side note, Seahawks, they were inconsistent enough throughout the year where I wasn't completely shocked about that.
But you brought up the elephant, so let's talk about it. The Browns. The Browns are the Browns.
We had said that the Steelers would win. I said it was going to be a close game, like similar to the one from last week, minus Mason Rudolph.
So it wasn't going to be close because Mason Rudolph's not that good?
Right, but I thought it would be like a 2-point contest like that one.
I thought it would have been a 2-touchdown contest the other way.
Yeah, the Steelers' offense just wasn't that electric.
I mean, the first play from scrimmage is a touchdown for the Browns.
Take that away,
Take that away. Take away the 4 picks that Ben Roethlisberger threw, along with 4 touchdowns and 500-plus yards. The only other quarterback that I can remember to throw 500-plus yards and lose was Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
They said that. They did.
I watched it.
Dick regurgitating again. So it was exciting. I'm happy for Browns fans. They need something. Now they get rewarded with a game with the Chiefs next week. We'll wait till the picks. I'll wait.
Well, so Smith-Schuster was talking all this shit like that. The Browns are the Browns, and then
Smith-Schuster has nothing to lose. He wasn't coming back to Pittsburgh, so it was either fire up his team and then rewarded, or who gives a shit? I'm out of town anyway.
And then what did Mayfield say as he ran out of the tunnel?
Fuck Juju, I don't know.
No, he said the Browns are the Browns as he's running down the tunnel.
Yeah, and they all did his dance on Instagram afterwards or TikTok or whatever the hell it is, and then they had a good time.
And then Claypool came back with, they're going to get clapped back next week.
Which he totally got shat on for doing that.
It's like, okay. You don't have any room to talk anymore.
Exactly. Big Ben sitting on the bench, it looked like a scene out of a classic picture, classic movie. You think that was...
seriously.
That was I'm a done?
I looked at it, it was like, how did I get here? Like,
I don't think so, man. I think it was one last appreciation for everything.
The field.
I think that was it.
I think that's it too. I agree with you there.
And then the article that came out that him and Pouncey had made a promise that they were going to quit when the other quits, and they were sitting together crying.
Pouncey's still young, though.
10 years. He was part of those Florida national
I know.
championship
Both
teams,
him and his brother.
Yeah, so...
With Hernandez, right?
Skirt. Cut that out.
No, that's staying in.
God dang.
It's a fact.
So, yeah, I think that's what that was from as Devontae Smith. I think that's him. Somebody's getting walked out.
He is. I told you his hand's broken. He's broken his thumb.
Alabama, what was that? Was that a pick?
No.
I don't know what that was.
You're ahead of me. No, dude, that's not a pick.
Well, either Alabama is going to have the ball first and 10.
No, he was
Ohio
down.
State's 45.
He was down.
Here's the replay.
I just watched he was down.
We got a catch.
Line judge like he's down.
Yes, he was down.
Yeah. He stripped the ball.
So
good play by that. Good play by the linebacker, but
first and 10 for Alabama on Ohio State's 45, rolling again on offense. Yeah, I think that was Big Ben sitting there taking one last. I think he's done.
Agreed.
I think that's it. We'll see who the Steelers.
It's the end of an era, man. It's not Mason Rudolph.
Yep, they're showing Devontae Smith going into the locker room as the badass that he is. He stops to watch the replay and check on his team. That is not a guy who's worried about his draft stock next year. That's a guy who's worried about his team. Hell yeah to the Heisman Trophy winner. Now, the most entertaining game, due to the graphics, was the Nickelodeon special.
Dude, we talked about this too. We thought Tony Romo might have been part of it, but he wasn't. There was a lot happening.
How many dads do you think had to tell their kids, like, shut up, leave me alone, let me watch the game with everything going on?
I specifically made my kids watch that game, and I told them, hey, watch halfway through the first quarter. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Because they'll sit and watch Aggie games with me. They'll watch some football games. Torture. Oh, I know, dude. This year, an Orange Bowl win, the torture.
Oh, now we're acknowledging the Orange Bowl win. Okay.
When do you gotta throw dust? I'll throw dust back. All right. But we watched the Nickelodeon broadcast, and I thought it was just like, we got to do it. And I will say this about it, man. The graphics were legit. I like that they changed everything up a little bit. The announcers were good. I can't remember the main announcer. I can't remember either of their names off the top of my head.
Was it Nate Burleson?
It was Nate Burleson, yes. I'll tell you what, though. The Nick stars knew nothing about football. Like, it was embarrassing. They're making the sideline guy do, like, weird impressions, and then the girl that was co-hosting with them knew nothing about football at all, which is okay, but did not even add any comedic relief or any sort of entertainment value, in my opinion. I thought that it was a great concept, and ultimately they executed a lot of the production quality well. They got good stars in there, but they could have picked anybody from Nick and just given them a crash course for like 2 weeks on what football was. And it's almost like they wanted to put someone that knew nothing about football in that spotlight just because of the name.
Okay, so classic Dick Hurt moment. I watched the first touchdown to see what the graphics were like and was hoping that SpongeBob would be in the uprights for the extra point. He wasn't on the one I saw, so I was pissed.
He was on field goal.
And that's all I got to say about that.
I thought it was a good concept, though.
Other than that,
I did like I'm going to say this, and I'll leave it. I did like the fact that the announcers throughout the game were explaining football to a layman or a kid, where it did a good thing for me, where it was...
You just called your kids lame.
A layman is not lame. A layman, for layman's terms, it provided a little bit of additional context where my daughter, when she looks at me, doesn't go, Daddy, what's a first down? I'm like, you're fucking kidding me.
Yeah, I did catch a little there. It's like, oh, every 10 yards is like a... I don't know. They had some kid way, but...
They get to try again for 4 more times.
There is a meme floating where they should have got the girl from Guts that would wear the referee. The ref from Guts, that she should have ref the game. That was a good one floating around. Did Trubisky totally shit on his chance at an opportunity for next year?
I mean, he did win the MVP in that game.
Oh God.
They left it up to popular vote online, and fucking Mitch Trubisky won the Nickelodeon MVP award. It was embarrassing.
Well, it was either him or the dude that played with their grandpa. Okay, so yeah, Trubisky got that.
No, I don't know that I don't know that he shit on it. I think the one thing that you have to say about Trubisky is he's never a starting quarterback. He's inconsistent, and he has flashes in the pan of, like, I don't say brilliance, but like competence. So he should be a second string quarterback, and he should be happy with that. He's not a starter.
Fuck that. He replaced Jay Cutler in a long line of shitty Chicago Bears quarterbacks,
Which are traditionally inconsistent.
Give the guy another chance. Who are you going to get? I mean, unless
Nick Foles.
Unless you
Carson Wentz
on free agency. Cool. So let's replace Mitch Trubisky with Mitch Trubisky. Got it.
He's one number better.
I've got to mention this.
All right.
Because I've got to throw love to Tech. Courtesy of Guns Up Nation, RC Maxfield, who I guess is the guy who runs that thing on Facebook, he tweeted, I'm not saying this is wrong, but I just want people to remember how great Michael Crabtree was at Texas Tech. Devontae Smith, 235 receptions, 3,965 yards, and 46 touchdowns in 4 years. Now, yes, this was a difference. He was the dude this year in a long line of Alabama receivers. But Michael Crabtree, 231 receptions, 3,127 yards, and 41 touchdowns in 2 years. People forget how much of a badass Michael Crabtree was. And the dude and Graham Harrell didn't even get invited to the Heisman finalists that year. Like, I just wanted to throw that out there. Throw some love. Crabtree was a badass, and I got to live every moment of it because I was there during that time, and it was beautiful.
I don't think that anybody ever said that Crabtree wasn't a badass, but I think Crabtree was...
No, but people forget.
Well, I think Crabtree was where he fell short, or maybe where Devontae Smith falls high, is a product of their environment, right? From the
Alabama and Texas Tech. That's
streamable, Twitter, Facebook highlights, everything's there in front of you. Reddit's huge. Reddit was big back then too, but
dude,
all you had to do was
print that Crabtree song.
Yeah, that was a Lubbock thing. Nowhere else had that. But dude, you just made a Soldier Boy reference.
You know what I completely
How old are
we? Remember the Victim shirts? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember the dude selling them in the parking lot. Yeah. So it was a T-shirt of Michael Vick holding a collar
of Reveille.
You know.
If you don't know what Reveille is, she's a collie. She's Zaynab's mascot.
Imagine the vulgar.
It was like, this is 2007, 2008. This is post Mike Vick convictions.
It was bad enough to where I was like, I can't buy that. Holy shit! No.
You're like, it's a pretty badass shirt, but I still can't do it.
Yeah, no, I love Michael Vick, so maybe that's why I didn't. But yeah, anyway.
But you know that thing would go on eBay for like $300.
That was a rabbit hole to fill up some second half time.
Shit.
As
Good
Alabama has scored again, and it is now 24-45. Still 2:52 left in the third.
All right. So let's talk about next weekend. So when we release this should go out on Thursday or Friday. It'll be hitting up our second weekend of playoff football on Saturday and Sunday. Lineup we got Green Bay and LA, Browns and the Chiefs, Ravens and the Bills, and dude, the rematch of what, week 1 or week 2, Bucks and Saints. So let's talk through this, man. Like, either you can lead it or I can lead it. Like, let's pick them.
I'll lead it with the first one. I think Green Bay is going to beat LA, but I'm going to cover my ass. Wouldn't be surprised. Green Bay haven't been inconsistent for a while.
But they're playing at Green Bay.
Pretty good, right?
And it's going to be cold as fuck, possibly snowing.
Do you think it's going to be an ass kicking is what I'm saying?
I'm going to say that Green Bay has more weapons who show up on a regular basis. And Aaron Donald kind of got hurt. So know if that's going to impact him against.
So he's going to be as good as every other guy. He's going to be normal.
No, he's going to be an overall 95 and not an overall 99.
Yeah. But
I do have Green Bay by. Yeah. Let's do a bye. I'll do Green Bay by 2 touchdowns.
17.
Okay. All right, we're in the same bailiwick. All right, Browns and Chiefs.
So this is rematch 4 between Mahomes and Mayfield that goes back to the college days.
Yeah. They played for the same college.
I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, and I think
they were on the same team, weren't they?
I don't think. No.
Yeah, they were. Because Mayfield left and Mahomes was there.
I think Mahomes came the next year.
Oh, I thought they were on the same team, same year.
Because remember, Mayfield felt like he was in college for like 6 years with all the transferring and then the sitting.
Well, that wasn't even transferring. He was just like, I don't want to go to school here anymore, and walked over to Oklahoma. Was like, hey, you guys want to practice with me?
I don't think they were going to offer him a scholarship. Way to go, Cliff. I know. Thanks, Cliff. We ended up with fucking Pat Mahomes. Thanks a lot. Yeah. The Chiefs are going to win by 3 points because that's what they've been doing. They find a way to win. They're going to end up finding a way to have more points than the Browns. I'll go with that.
So I will say this about the Browns win. It was long due. I feel like it was a comedy of errors. And don't get Chubb and Kareem Hunt, like they ran their asses off. I am going to say the Chiefs defense is better than the Steelers defense. And on top of that, I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be really, really difficult. Patrick Mahomes is not going to make the same mistakes that Ben made. He's not going to throw 4 picks and still make it a competitive game. I feel like they win by 3 touchdowns. The Chiefs.
You don't know what the Chiefs...
You don't know. You don't know. They win. But I'm going to say by 3 touchdowns.
Ravens and your Cinderella story, I guess, of the year, the Bills.
Are you mocking me because you think they're not Cinderella, or you think it's too obvious for them not to be Cinderella?
I think it's too obvious for them not to be Cinderella. Okay. They were showing signs of it last year. They almost beat the freaking Texans in the first round. They're if you're doing a decent progression, they're where they should be this year.
So they win this game.
Shout out to Bills Mafia. They're loving it. Good for them.
So I got Bills by touchdown.
I want to shake things up again. I think the Ravens have gotten through that COVID mess. I think they're hitting a stride. I'm going with the upset. I think Lamar's on a little bit of a revenge tour. I think we're going to look back and say the shitting his pants was a legendary story. And he came out of that shitter a different man. A man on a mission. And I think I'll go Ravens by 4.
Okay. So I think this is the one anybody that's keeping up with NFL really feel like statistically is going to be a really close matchup. You got the Bucks and the Saints. Who you got?
I'll go Bucks.
Fuck, dude. I want to say Bucks too. Like I can't not pick them, but the question is by how much.
I'll go Bucks 14.
I'll go Bucks 3.
I think it's hard. It's Drew Brees, so if anybody can do it, I can be. What is it called? Eating crow? To beat Tom Brady 3 times in a season, as Alabama's at the 15, and they're going to say, we're not going to make this a ball game. 15 seconds in the third, 45-24, Alabama's in the red zone.
But Antonio Brown's also playing ball.
He's starting to catch some touchdowns. I don't know if I'd say he's playing some ball, you know.
What else would you say is playing ball besides catching touchdowns at that position?
Well, I mean, like, he's not putting together, like, these 100-yard games. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but he's still catching touchdowns, which is all anybody cares about.
You know what I mean, Dick.
I know. He didn't have ice blocks on his feet, so it's a good thing. All right, we're good.
Okay. Let it go. Let the man live.
I just gave him praise.
It's hard to beat. It's hard to beat. It's hard to beat Tom Brady 3 times. Drew Brees could do it though. If anybody can, it's that guy. He's also on a farewell tour. He's already said this is his last year, so they're gonna have to take him off on a stretcher to get him out of that game. But something tells me that the Bucs are kind of like the Ravens. Maybe they're hitting their stride at the right time. Or maybe they just pulled off a mediocre win against the Washington We Have No Name football team and a guy who balled out, Taylor Heineke.
He did.
Heineke.
He got a lot of respect off of that game.
Well, who knows? Maybe he'll be the Texans starter next year.
That's the football team starter.
True.
Maybe Alex Smith will be your starter next year.
We gotta see what that guy does. He's been through hell and back, and he's deserved every bit of praise that he's gotten, and it definitely was a letdown that we didn't get to see him in that big hurrah if he could have pulled off a win. But I'll go Bucks.
Have they announced the comeback player of the year yet?
Yeah, it's him.
Oh, it is? Okay, all right.
Would you imagine the shit show?
There were a lot of people saying it should have been him, and I was like, what?
For what?
I can't remember who it was, but
maybe somebody shitty that you know what? As I'm saying that, somebody was, and I hate when we don't have these references, but somebody was saying like, I mean, has he really done a lot? The guy had no fucking leg. The guy had no leg.
He had a bone. He had a bone with no muscle on it.
A buddy of mine saw the E60, sent me a picture of his leg, and I was like, brisket, anyone? Like,
brisket tacos.
It looked so bad.
Oh, man. Barbacoa? All right. So I think we've done that. I mean, we talked about our picks. We'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and talk about the palate or the tasting notes. So let's finish this third dram out and get to our fourth one.
Little asking for feedback. Let us know. Our ratio of whiskey talk, sports talk, are you liking it? Is it enough? Is it too far and in between? Let us know. More interaction we're asking for. That would be a good little input if you're looking for something to give us. So
just for a little reference, like we're getting some traction on our listeners. We drop a new one, we're getting spiking around 10 or 20. And then our Instagram followers, we have about 133, 135 people following us. Looks like we're getting some real people, not just the bots, which is nice.
That's some more advice. We'll be at a couple, and then we'll lose a couple. Let us know. Are we losing that? We're new to the Instagram game. Is it because we're not following people back? Is it because maybe a couple, people, shady-ass profiles are deleting theirs? Spam? I don't know.
I was going for all of the Russian supermodels. Were we not supposed to follow all of those?
I saw you ask OnlyFans for a sponsorship, and I thought that was a little bit of a reach.
Well, I went for Pornhub first, but they said they were too high class. So,
too classy.
All right, so let's talk palate. Let's talk tasting notes. What you got on that, man?
Okay, so on the palate of this early times, the proof is in the taste more on the than on the nose, but you're still getting the classic vanilla bomb. I get dark chocolate. I actually get a little chocolate-covered raisins, which I feel a lot better when I can actually narrow it down to an exact item, and I get very excited when I can do that. If I'm getting a little dark chocolate-covered raisins, vanilla, but in $23 bottle, back end, you get that proof. You get the taste fades, and you're left with the proof and ethanol. But you're hit at first, and you're gonna have to fight through a little bit of that heat. You'll get vanilla, dark chocolate covered raisins, that fruit that was on the palate, faint, but it's there. Raspberry. So I think that's where it kind of, if the taste was with the nose, man, this would be that $45-$50 bottle easily. But I think that's what makes early times is that $23 price. I'm going to go B- on the palate.
All right. So, I mean, heavy on the nose, not so heavy on the palate, but nothing to bitch about. I think that's a pretty solid bottle, dude, especially the price point.
No, absolutely. And that goes back to, it's when I have, if Dick comes over, we're drinking the Jack Daniel's Special Reserve Rye Single Barrel. We're drinking the...
Dude, I don't want to drink any more of that because, like, the more and more I watch, people are like, I can't even get hands on it. Like, I was following Bourbon Night's Instagram, and I was asking them, hey, you going to have this? And then I watched their Rye So Serious. They couldn't even get their hands on a bottle of that.
But I think that's okay for this bottle, like, because it's not a constant release. So you've got to get it now.
Right. And that's what makes me not want to drink it.
Get 6 or 5 of them.
No, for sure. But
you got to get it now.
Where I'm going with my collection now is the stuff that I'm going to keep in my back, right? The stuff I'm going to collect is mixes, i.e. like homegrown, like poor man's Pappy, poor man's 4-grain, rust breed, 1915, those kind of things, and then hard to find bottles. And that's one that's going back in the cabinet.
Yeah. It's good, but
so I'm
interested to see what you say here as we continue to compare.
Oh, I will, but I did have to do this.
Still Austin.
So we're going into the fourth ram. Haven't quite closed this out. So I did want to ask you this: we're watching the college football playoff national final. We've got Ohio State at 7-0, 24, and Alabama just scored again, 52, 12-0, 52-24 game. I could not argue more right now that A&M should have been in the playoff, because you know what the final score? Oh, keep in mind, the national playoff or the college football final, there's 13 minutes and 15 seconds left. Do you know what the final score of the A&M Alabama game is? 52-24. If Bama keeps playing like Bama keeps playing, and let's say they keep their people in, dude, they're going to run up 60, 70 points on these bitches.
Well, that goes back to, I think it would, like I said, Texas A&M would have been a better matchup than Notre Dame. But
agreed.
You can't do that score comparison right now, because if you're going to do that, Florida lost by 1 touchdown to them in the SEC championship.
Fair.
So you can't do that.
You're right, and I'm not arguing that. I'm just thinking, like, to me, everybody said, like, Bama can't do. One of the knocks against A&M was the Bama game, the point separation there. And I'm looking at this game and I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, if Alabama's defense actually keeps playing the way it should be playing, like, it makes me feel better about our season, and it makes me even like more pissed that we didn't get in, because Notre Dame had no damn right to be in that fucking final.
Well, I'm going to shit on you a little bit.
All right, go for it. I mean, I did say I was going to become a Texans fan, but yeah, shit on me.
Well, just to dick you up a little bit, how many points did A&M score on Alabama?
24.
You know who the 2 highest scoring teams against Alabama were this year that put over 40?
Florida and I'm going to say someone else, but I don't remember.
Ole Miss.
Ooh. Well, Ole Miss does have that offense.
So don't get too excited there.
No, it's not so much that. I think it's more of like...
My pride.
It is. Oh, 100%. I mean, it's a pride hit.
Moving on. What is on your palate for that Still Austin?
All right, so Still Austin, this gets me a little bit into a different zone that I'm used to. You do get a little like charred oak on the front end. As I take a sip and make all the sipping noises into the mic, there's a little bit of like a bitter cocoa flavor here. Nothing to be mad at, nothing to like be offensive at. It's very nice, kind of like a baker's chocolate. You'll enjoy it. I would actually I would compare this baker's chocolate to actually that of the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Rye that we had. Once you get a little farther into it, you get a honey, a cinnamon. All right, so some people will call it barrel spice. I'm gonna call it cinnamon right here. It's almost like a red hot, which is very nice on like that 3/4 palate. You just let it sit a little bit. This is the kicker for me. This is where it gets a little bit different, what I'm not used to. There's an apple. There's a green apple there. And
I had got red apple.
I'm going to say green apple because I think it's a little more tart than what I'm used to. It's more as like a Granny Smith green apple. Actually, I'm going to say this. It reminds me of my grandma's. When I used to go to her house, she had a green apple tree in her backyard, and that's the only thing we ever made apple pie with. And it sounds like the most country shit ever. This was in Tucson, Arizona. Like, go out there and she had a
U of A.
Bear down.
Which I don't know where.
I have no either because they're wildcats. But yeah.
Yeah.
Because they have claws? I don't know. But yeah, it tastes like one of those apples when they're ripe still. But bite into it and it's like almost like a sound with your mouth. Did you get that?
So you had to totally like take my joy of comparing it to something and just say, I'm gonna fucking just narrow the shit out of this taste.
No, I felt like that was one for me because everybody keeps saying apple, and it's almost like where I was with 1920, and I kept trying. I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's banana. It's really hard for you to develop your palate if you don't have other things to compare it to, or frankly, you don't have other reviews to compare it to. We've talked about this before. One of my best practices is drink something, have a dram of it, get that neck pour out of the way if it's your first time cracking the bottle. Get into that second dram. Like with Still Austin, I would not have recommended this on the neck pour. And I think that has something to do with bottle design, whatever.
I think the neck pour thing's still debate.
I don't think so. When you look at this, and they talk about the first neck I had is within this tiny vial. It's basically a shot glass size, and it's been penetrated by sun and light.
Is that necessarily the neck pour? Or do you think that's your palate adjusting?
It could be. It could. Yeah, maybe that's debatable because we'll all agree pretty much with every whiskey. The more you drink of it, the better it is. But overall, I'll get to my point. I rated this a B palette. So like not a B plus, not a B minus. It's a solid B. This is a nice 85. Like this is not something by any means. If I try a new bottle and it gives me this, I'm going to be mad at.
So as you were talking about your apple crisp,
I heard you dangling in back there. What'd you get?
I did pour myself a glass of some Still Austin.
You poured yourself a shot glass.
Way to call me out, asshole. And that taste goes back to that description I told you of that coin box growing up. The wood,
cedar,
which is still of controversy.
It's cedar. No, I can taste it. It's cedar.
Yeah, and it's a weird,
I've licked cedar before. I've chewed on pieces of cedar.
Whoa, what? Okay, yoga. Yeah, I get that cedar heavy on the taste. And like we said, adjusting palates, you have to remember I'm going from a early times classic Kentucky whiskey to a 98 Texas whiskey proof. But yeah, I'm getting that cedar that we talked about big time, and it's very good.
Cedar's nothing to be mad at. That's the thing is,
you get any mesquite on it?
Maybe I could say this like the smokiness. I mean, you call it like I call it charred oak, but I can get a little mesquite on there. I can see that because I love me some fucking. I grew up on mesquite.
Oh, cool.
That's at Arizona.
Everybody in Texas.
No, dude. That was the Arizona way. Like,
well,
open fire
State
mesquite.
Just scored, so that shit on your A&M theory.
Fair enough.
Possibly.
That wasn't a touchdown.
Oh, that was absolutely a 20-yard touchdown. Yep, that's a touchdown. As we watch the replay.
I'm not watching the replay yet, so fuck you.
Too little, too late.
Ooh, he bobbled it. He bobbled it. He had possession. Ooh, I don't know if he had possession in downs. I don't know.
He had possession as his leg at the pylon. 30 to 52, maybe a little too late.
That's a bobble.
I
don't know.
Alabama is possibly.
They're going to review it.
Alabama was looking more like their.
Did he kick the EP yet?
No, they're pausing. They're looking at. As Alabama was about 8:30 from their gazillionth national championship. Okay, so we got our
tasting, our palate grades. as Kurt's switching over here, he's already written down and documented his grade for the early times bib. I just feel like he had possession out of bounds. He didn't have possession while he was in bounds. We'll come back to it. All right, so Kurt, let's go ahead and get into that for a fourth ram. I think you already got there. I got to chug this little bitch here.
No, that was the still Austin I just chugged. So,
Ooh.
Fourth dram, motherfuckers. Fourth dram.
Right back at you.
As we bring this thing, pushing into that end zone.
We're gonna wrap this up with a little college football final recap, thoughts, really bullshitting about the game so far. I have a few kind of trivial items here, and then really just what the fuck we want to talk about.
Yeah, sure.
All right,
let's do it.
So far in this, what do you think? What are your thoughts about this game? As I see Liam Neeson in The Marksman with a M1A, basically playing a country badass saving some illegals. It was a pretty badass looking trailer.
So, Taken 15. So Taken 15.
What do you mean?
Every Liam Neeson movie is pretty much a sequel to Taken.
Oh, yeah, sure. All right, Kurt, we about summed up that third dram. You give us a little thoughts on your still Austin experience as you poured yourself a little shot there. I think we can both agree that so far, still Austin is a pretty good hitter. Early times bottled and bond, nothing to get mad about. I do want to talk about this college football playoff, the last football game, at least in the college experience, for the season. What are your thoughts, man? Anything standing out to you? Anything you're like, dude, Hard Rock Stadium looks bomb as shit with those 4 traffic cones on top of it? Or I wish that they hadn't played college football at all because this is a big sham. Or, you know what? That wasn't a catch. He Des Bryant did that thing, but it's not going to be called a catch.
We'll see. Did they kick the extra point or are they taking the field again?
I'm still seeing the replay.
It looks like they reversed the touchdown, so it was not a touchdown.
Shut the fuck up. I was right. We're leaving that in. I was right. I said he was juggling it.
Congratulations.
I was right about something. In this podcast, mark it down in your almanac on this day, 1/11/21. Dick was dick. Kurt got dicked.
As Justin Fields just got decked, but he's getting helped back up. Okay. Congratulations.
First down.
Dick.
Good job.
You got me. So my thoughts on this year.
Or either this game or this year. Sorry,
this game's over. Alabama's going to win their next national championship. Okay, so if we want to talk about the game first, it was one of those wishful thinkings. I was hoping for a close one. I was hoping for the 2015 experience where Ohio State went in. It's, you know, you get Alabama in the national championship. You don't expect things to happen like when they got their ass whipped by Clemson. But you go in, you start to plug and look for the positives and negatives. You sit there and you think, hey, Alabama's giving up 40 points to Florida and Ole Miss. Hey, Ohio State's D-line's pretty badass, so maybe they can stop down that running game. So then Devontae Smith goes absolutely berserk in the first half, and it looks like it was just Bama being Bama. That's my thoughts on the game. Incomplete pass. As for the season, I do think it mellowed out throughout the year.
It got more normalized, right?
It did. At the beginning, you know, you had the big names. We should not be playing. We should not be playing. You definitely thought that as a fan sometimes. And then that came in waves throughout the season. You know, excitement starts, games start, we're happy. Whole teams were getting hit hard. You know, it's getting worse in the real world. At the end of the year, I'm glad they pulled it off. I'm glad we're where we're at. As for thoughts on it, I'm interested to see next year the programs that were down. I'm interested to see how quick of a turnaround they can make, such as Penn State, Auburn. You know, what were the effects of the pandemic? what were the effects of preparation? Are those powerhouses going to be back? Are they going to turn it around? Why the fuck did Jim Harbaugh just get a huge extension?
Dude, you saw me freak out on Twitter if you follow us on Twitter on that one.
Did they just say,
why?
We don't. I mean, Michigan hasn't exactly had the best of luck.
No, it's not luck. They haven't had success.
Michigan hasn't had the best of luck hiring coaches since Lloyd Carr, so maybe they're like, this is what we got. Let's go with it. But I'm interested to see. Yeah, Lloyd Carr, remember? National championship head coach?
No.
Charles Woodson.
No. I don't remember who the national championship head coach was, but sure.
Lloyd Carr.
I've never known another successful person named Lloyd, so.
And after you celebrated the victory of defeating me, you totally redeem yourself. Anyway, yeah, how are those teams that, how quickly are they going to turn it around? How are they going to be back? Because there was a lot of inconsistency this year. There was teams, losing big, and you'll get that every year, but it just felt different. Coastal Carolina, will they be back? That'll be interesting.
You're getting into a different subject. You're getting into the teams who are good be consistently good.
I'm looking forward to.
No, I know.
Will Liberty, is Hugh Freeze going to stay there? He hasn't gotten that job yet that I thought he was going to get. Auburn was a possibility.
Northwestern. Indiana. Indiana's quarterback's coming back.
Good point. That's another thing. Who's staying? A couple big names have decided they're not going to stay. Sam Ehlinger, Kellen Mond.
Next year's going to be a weird year for A&M. Like, we have a lot of our defense returning. I think 10 out of 12 starters. And our good receiving core coming back. But we have a wild card at quarterback.
So are you going into what you're looking forward to?
No, I was just making some statements.
I'd be excited. I'd be excited if I'm an A&M fan.
I'm excited but fearful at the same time, right? So there's an era of like consistency where everybody's returning, but it's that classic turning point in your program where your 3.5 year starter has now decided to go on to the NFL, which I would argue he shouldn't. I just don't think he's going to get drafted that high. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of like, put Haynes King in. I think he's going to be good long term, but you're talking about having an experienced team with an inexperienced quarterback. Like, what results are you going to yield? I don't think you're going to get another Orange Bowl. And I'm just going to hope and pray. I mean, there are cases spiking across the country, and we can be in our third, fourth wave now. But there is a level of inconsistency that comes with a first-year starter.
That is the one knock. They have to go through that hellhole of the SEC East again.
I mean, my everyday life? Yeah, sure. Yeah. But, hey, Alabama will be the same situation.
Did King redshirt this year?
Well, this year is a freebie year for everybody.
Okay, but he was there this year.
Yes.
I completely forgot about him. But yeah, no, fuck it. Put him in there next year. Why not? You're going to have it.
He's the favorite to win the job.
Okay, so you're going to have a young quarterback until the end of the year. How inconsistent was Kellen Mond for so long?
So, I mean, they already talked about his comeback story. I mean, his first game is the UCLA comeback of like 34 points that they blew at UCLA.
Classic.
And then he finished his career as an Orange Bowl champion. So
good for him.
It's a hell of a story, right?
I guess.
I mean, when's the last time y'all had a story like that?
We made it to the Cotton Bowl that same year that we, had only lost one game. Beat number one Texas, stormed the field. But
I'm pretty sure you were in that. You were in that storming the field.
You're damn right I was. I got an elbow to the chest by a Texas Ranger as I patted Mike Leach on the back.
Oh, classic stories. That's staying in there.
So you're looking forward to that? What else you got?
I don't know. I think you hit most of them. More for me, it's going to be the programs that were good this year. They came out of nowhere. I won't say they came out of nowhere, but were good. Can Cincinnati repeat? Like, can they be the same team? What does it look like for the, I'm going to say expansion, but the evolution of the college football playoff? Does this really set in stone that we need to make some changes long term? Is there anything that's going to come out of it? But ultimately, are we going to have a normal year next year? We talk about, 2021, we return back to normal. Everybody thought like we're going to rip off a Band-Aid and everything's going to be healed up next year. But we're still in the middle of a pandemic with multiple strains. There's a European, there's an English, there's a Spanish, there's a South African, there's a US, there's an African strain out there where we don't know what's happening, and we cannot assume that 2021 is going to be normal. So
God, I hope so. All we can do is hope.
No, all we can do is drink and talk about sports, because there will be a 2021 Olympics, which is going to be a fun time for us. I really do propose that we do a summer.
Who can chug the drink the fastest?
And I was actually going to go for like a summer advent calendar or like an Olympics advent calendar for us, but we could do that too.
More.
I like my March Madness idea more.
Smith comes onto the sideline
with
in
his
a t-shirt,
thumb wrapped,
hugging his coach. Just a dude, and I really hope he does.
He's a manimal.
Pros. Good for him. Good for him.
It's his index finger that's broken. That's what it is. Or fractured.
He's got a lot more catches in his future, I can tell you that.
His index finger, because he has it taped to his middle finger.
Thank you, Dr. Dick.
Or vice versa. Yeah, sure.
So yeah, we've gone on. We kind of did our national championship special, and honestly, there's still about 6 minutes to go. So we've been on since halftime. So a good little time on here. Let's bring it to a close. Let's go ahead and give our ratings of this glass. These great glasses we had tonight for this game, and we'll start wrapping it up. Dick, the floor is yours, my man.
All right, so a couple notes to make about this. Like, this has some nice legs. That's pretty oily in the glass, and the nose starts out with like an imminent sweetness, and you're not let down in the taste palette. Like you're going to like this. But as Kurt and I talked about, there's just like this charred oak, maybe mesquite, all the way through. And it does have kind of a slight bitter finish. Overall, I would say this drink's much older than a 2-year whiskey, probably in that 6 to 10-year-old range. And we talked about how much maybe faster stuff ages in Texas because of our climate. There's roughly 12 biological regions or biodomes within Texas. And
good movie, Pauly Shore.
Austin being one of those may just hit the sweet spot.
The weasel. No?
Sure. Overall, when we're giving this
Pauly Shore does look like he belongs in Austin.
Pauly Shore, yeah, sure.
Continue.
Overall, I'd give this a B+. This is not going to knock your socks off from the sample, like, oh, this is George G. Stagg, or like, this is a BTAC product, or hell, this is a Jack Daniel's special release. Maybe we're a little bit harsh here on Fourth Ram and Goal, but this is something like, we talk about like, is this something you're like taking to the tailgate? This is something you taking to the holiday party? Or is this something you're taking to a wedding? I'm actually going to put this in the wedding class, because if you're going to...
Especially if it's in Austin.
Exactly. If you're going to a wedding here in Texas and you show up with something that says still Austin, people are like, what the fuck is that? And it's a little bit hard to find right now. I think it's a hitter. What about you, Kurt?
So the price on early times is obviously going to give it a huge bonus. I hate to be that guy. I'm going to go... I hate to be like B-, B+. I mean, this is like 85.
That's what we do.
I'm going to give it a B. I'm going to give it a B. It's great. Grab it. Have it on the shelf. Have this one there for when people come over, when the friend comes over, when y'all need something to drink. Maybe you have one glass each of the high shelf stuff, and you can sip on this the rest of the night. You can definitely get shit-faced, and then it doesn't matter what you're tasting, and just throw this down. This stays in my beginner shelf. This is the start with something soft, Buffalo Trace, get you a bottled and bond, meet it in the middle at 100, and then then you start bringing out the heavy hitters. It's a solid B. $23. Grab it, mix it, drink it, swirl it, swish it, chug it, whatever you want to do, and it is delicious to do that with. I hope it stays on the shelves. I hope it's highly available. I hope it's like your Evan Williams bottled and bond, that it's always there.
Another hitter.
Grab it whenever you want, and it's a hell of a label.
Amen to that, man. Amen to that. You can't go wrong with enough solid, easy to find hitters. And you talked about Evan Williams a little bit. I'll probably drink one of our, I meant to send you a bottle of this. I'm not going to, though. Like my house blend of like 60-40, 60% Evan Williams bottled and bond, 40% Old Granddad 114. You know me being an OGD 114 bitch. I love that shit. It's like buttery butterscotch goodness. Anyway, you can't go wrong with having enough easy to find good drinking stuff. Good call out.
Well said. And as we get ready to leave you, we have 5:08 left in this national championship. 24-52. Alabama's definitely getting their next national championship. A lot of us thought that, as Justin Fields just continues to just take a beating. Nick Saban, yep, that's just going to, push the greatest of all time. And that kind of puts a wrap on our college football season, and it's a hell of a way to put a wrap on it.
It's fucking sad, but happy at the same time. We actually had a full college football season.
Yep, and we'll definitely have to find other things to talk about as we'll continue to talk about the NFL playoffs, which we touched on today. We talked about the shit show in Houston going on. We talked about a couple more coaches losing their jobs. We talked about this upcoming playoff weekend. Put our final thoughts on the college football season. Thank you guys for listening. Continue to interact. Continue to shout us out. We're going to continue to interact and learn from some of the best that are on YouTube and social media right now. We'd love to hear from them. Give us our thoughts. Give us what you think. And I will let Dick lay the social media information on you again.
All right. So as Kurt said, and kind of a counterpoint to Fergie, there is a holler back, y'all. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you have to think about our show, what we're doing. Emails, fourthdramandgoal@gmail.com. You can always hit us up on the Insta, on the Twitter. We have a lot of posts. Kurt and I are trying to get really good about giving some fresh content out there that's not just your standard bottle pick, or the bottle pick, rather. We want to show you some Dick and Kurt picks about what do we see as being the future of the Insta pick. Give us a bottle, give us some sports, give us some happenings around the roll. You know what I'm saying? Get at us. Fourth Dram, 4THDRAM. Hit us up on Facebook, Fourth Dram and Goal. You can always just email us, man. Old school style, fourthdramandgoal@gmail.com. I don't know how that makes me feel saying that email is old school. I still remember writing thank you letters to my grandma for birthday gifts. Most importantly,
you didn't send Grandmammy a handwritten letter?
I did. That's what I'm saying. Like, I still remember doing that. Now I just text her like, hey, thanks, Grandma. Maybe I'm just a dick grandson. Anyway, back to the nature at hand.
Yeah, tell your friends about us. Talk to us.
Talk to us.
Have listeners.
Review us.
We do have listeners. I've talked to my family members and friends. It's not just them. Shoot us a message. Hey, I'm listening, and we will say, hey, thank you for listening. And to those that are listening, thank you for listening. Thank you for checking us out.
Thank you for enduring us.
Even if you just went down a rabbit hole and like, who are these two dickheads?
No. It's one dickhead and one Kurt.
Thank you for not getting Dick Kurt about it and letting us know. We appreciate it.
And review us, like Apple Podcasts, Audible, CastBox, and Podcast Addict. They all have review functions. We need the reviews, guys. We want to hear what you guys think about us. And hey, if you want to give us a 5-star review, that's great. And still have some critiques, email us. We're not going to get Dick Kurt about it. We want to hear and how to get better. So, Kurt, I'm going to hand it off to you, man. We talked about the GOAT. Before we get into the quote of the episode, because I think that's what everybody listens for, is just to hear you talk in someone else's accent or voice. So I want to hear this guy when we get to the end. Talk a little about what we have coming up.
Yeah, so for those of you that do listen and looking forward to what we got in the next couple episodes, we will have a Texas Legends. We've talked about that in previous episodes, your classic Texas brands. We're going to blind them, see how they match up. We're going to continue to go down a Texas trail. My next tasting will probably be a Texas whiskey. March Madness is coming up. We're definitely going to do some kind of blind bracket, kind of do a March Madness style, just because sports, whiskey, it's got to happen. Dick said it today, came out with the idea. The Olympics are coming. We're going to have to do some kind of a couple Olympics for those 16, 17 days or whatever.
I'm thinking an advent calendar.
Advent calendar sounds good. We're going to do all that. Those are things you can look forward to in the next couple of months. Sports is always going to be there. Whiskey's always going to be there. We're always going to have something to talk about. So if you're spending your time with us,
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Kurt, hit us with a quote.
So it's got to be done. I had this one prepared because I had a feeling he was going to win it at the end of the day. And you told me to do a Nick Saban impression. I mean, do I just talk like the most pissed off, boring?
Yeah, but really fast and you're out of breath. So normal.
I don't know what you expect me to do. I mean, I'm a fucking badass. I don't know. That's my Nick Saban impression. But no, Nick Saban, man. As we said, the GOAT. One of his best quotes was, as they carry him off the field, we made it to the end. The clock just struck 0 and they're carrying Nick Saban. We couldn't have planned that any better. 24-52, that's your final. And I'm going to leave you with Nick Saban's. What happened yesterday is history. What happens tomorrow is a mystery. What we do today makes a difference. Thank you, Mr. Nick Saban. To the next snap and the next stram.
Drink on, Drammers.